And we're live. Guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is Jay Angel. I'm going to be your podcaster for this evening. Tonight, I have a very good friend of mine from Sport Fishing Outlet. Very good friend. Name of Rob Zorn. How are you doing tonight, Rob?
Doing fantastic, Jay. Thanks for having me on again. It was a really good time last time we got to chat.
Oh yeah, really good time. You know, I just wish I would have been able to go to ICAST this last year. I heard you had a great time.
Oh yeah, ICAST is phenomenal. I actually saw last night. Right now, the ASA is meeting down in Key West, so they're going over all the recommendations to make ICAST even bigger and better next year. A couple of that new products started to arrive, as some of you can see it on the internet. Most of that stuff for us will be coming in the spring of 2026, most likely March. But we do in store, if you want to lead right into the product, we got the new Noski. This has been sought after here from Shimano, $124 price point, 5-ball bearings. She's a beaut. They redesigned the color. Some people don't really like that orange colorway, but I think it's pretty fantastic. It's almost like a brushed aluminum orange. But this was one of our number one selling reels last year, specifically for the price point. These are great freshwater reels. They can hold up to the back bays and the salt, but I think there's some better options out there in the world. But this is definitely one to look for, the Noski. And the one that I'm really excited for more than any of them is the new Shimano Sustain. That's going to be coming in at a $339 price point, I believe, or excuse me, $399 price point. And those reels have a lot of the same technology that the Stella currently offers at a quarter of the price. So definitely keep your eye on those. We hope to have those. We had our Shimano buy meeting yesterday, so we're hoping to see those probably here as we move closer to Christmas. They're going to try to get them to us. I
like my Stratics.
Yeah, Stratics are time proven, you know. Unfortunately, just like everybody else in the world of fishing, have had to see price increases across the board here. So we're predominantly a 80% Shimano store. You know, their stuff is high quality and great price, but you know, that price increase has been a little shocker, but the customer wants quality, they'll continue to pay for it. But you know, they got that coming from Shimano. Shimano always has a strong presentation. This is another thing that was new to the Shimano. This came out, this was talked about at the end of last year. These are the new Inverno 115s. They originally came out with the World Minnow with that flash boost technology in it, which is second to none. These things work great in the saltwater. They're deadly on smallmouth bass. But this 115 they made here is specifically to compete with the Mega Bass line of 115 Visions.
Sure, man, that's a jerk bait. You know, look at that thing,
But this is, you know, I love that purple color of your fishing any kind of river systems. The St. Lawrence, the Susquehanna Flats down in the northeast of Maryland. The purple is a very popular color, and especially as we get into this time of the fall with that transition where that primary forage of the crayfish is turning that from that translucent natural color, where he's going to start turning into more of a bluish tint color, into that bright blue when that water gets cold. Which he will stay until he gets to the next stage of his life cycle before he'll change back to a natural, like, iridescent color in the super cold months. And then right before the spawn starts to happen, they start to take on that notable red shell, that bright red candy outside or whatever. And then the other new offering to our store, we just brought in a ton of Lucky Crafts. It is jerkbait time of the year, so all these products I've showed you are available on our website. If you use the code Let's Talk Fishing, you get 15% off your total order during the podcast here tonight. We appreciate Jay giving us the opportunity. And another killer right now is your KVD Elite 300. The difference between the 300s and the 200s, the 200s have 2 hooks. The 300s have the 3-hook presentation. I would keep an eye out on a new product we got coming from Rapala. They redesigned the original floater, the original F9 and F10 floater. Really? They now have the Rapala Elite. It's got upgraded hardware. They have specific paint colors for that colorway. We do have them currently listed on our website if you wanted to check that out. But we anticipate having those. November 1st is when we're going to see the rebuy of a lot of our Crush City products and the newer offerings that are coming from Rapala. And then right behind that, we'll be seeing all the new Pure Fishing stuff. Pure Fishing has some really cool stuff coming out in the freshwater side. They've added some additions with their gulp. They got a turbo shrimp out there. So any of you guys, I know down where you're at, you guys fish a lot of shrimps and stuff like that.
Lots of them.
It's definitely one that I would definitely look into. We did get them a little early, so we did have a chance to play with them a little bit, and they have put some fish on the deck. So definitely something to look forward there as well. But and then did I mention the Match to Hatch? These are awesome. If you're a goby man, if you're into goby fishing, these are 100% silicone baits. They're a little expensive, but they are deadly. They're very hard, they're very hard to destroy. Even if you get a toothy critter on there, these guys really have it dialed in. It's called Hatch the Match, backwards. But you can get all these on our website as well. These are custom colors for us here at SFO. We wanted to make a catfish pattern because we do have them giant flathead catfish ears that our customers love to target. But a little expensive on this bait. The guys in the Northeast do know us for being a bigger swim bait store and stuff like that. We're really into that glide bait fishery. But this is an awesome addition to anybody that's fishing up in the St. Lawrence River, anywhere up in Minnesota, anywhere where you have a predominance of that gobies. This is going to be something you want to check out. But these are on our website as well.
All over.
Green
Bay is just full of those gobies now. And I mean, they're getting some 6 and 7 pound smallmouths there. They got a 10-pound smallmouth out of Lake Erie.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing you want to use for those giant smallmouth.
Yeah, well, that New York fishery over the past 5 years has really blown up. And as a matter of fact, a friend of one of the kids that works here, he actually caught that giant one over there on Lake Oneida, which I believe is, I don't know if it's been certified yet, but it's close to New York state record for smallmouth. But the boys here, they go up to the St. Lawrence River. I think they've made 13 trips up there this year so far. We've done some video documentation of their journeys there. I'm sure you've seen some trailers. They're actually going back up there next weekend. A few of them are going to go up because right now that fishery is really firing up. Tonight's really the first night we're going to have some really cool temperatures here, which is going to be exciting for the saltwater guy because it seemed summer was going to stick around forever, but we got a nor'easter coming up the coast, and we'll see what it's supposed to hit landfall here Sunday night. They're talking winds up to 50 miles an hour. Ooh. But anybody who's into the surf casting game and follows the migration of the striped bass, when them nor'easters blow, it blows all the bait inshore, and that's the best time to go out there and get an opportunity. The last port was that there was fish up and coming down out of Rhode Island still. I think we're really setting up to have a season like we did last year where it was these short spurts, and then we go back to, full-blown 3 or 4 days of the run going, and then the bluefish move back in. And we had fishing well into January last year.
You're saying those guys actually go out there when the wind is blowing and there's 6-foot waves?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you ever want to watch a phenomenal documentary on the art of the surfcaster and kind of the history of the surfcaster, check out Montauk Rocks on YouTube, or just type in Montauk Rocks anywhere on Google and you'll be able to find it. It's about an hour-long documentary. It is really about the innovators of the sport and the surfcast. What once was the surf casting capital of the world was Montauk, New York. Okay. Unfortunately, right now we got a lot of regulations all up and down the East Coast right now trying to take that fishery away from us. So there's a lot of things working in that avenue. Everybody has an opinion when it comes to that. They've had several meetings. The overall resonating tone is that the data that they have is insufficient and it's not complete data. But to their own admission, they've admitted that their data is a little flawed. So I don't know how they're going to move forward. The goal is to reduce 24% overall catchability. So 12% from the recreational angler and 12% from the commercial angler. And those numbers could fluctuate. The biggest issue is the data that they have is old data. They don't have new data as to some of the regulations they did here. I think 3 or 4 years ago, they consolidated the entire Northeast as far as one fishery where they classified everybody and everybody had the same limit. I don't think that what they tried to do worked. And a lot of the older timers will say that we did have a fish moratorium back in the 90s, and they reopened the moratorium when we hit the 9% biomass number. And now it's the same number at the 9%, and everybody's screaming doom and gloom. So how can we celebrate it 20 years ago and today be completely other side of the spectrum? The bottom line is that you're continuing to take resources and access from the recreational angler. We have a powerful situation going on right here with the New Jersey governor and that race. And I think depending on who wins there could also play a lot in our, not only our commercial fishery, but also in our recreational fishery. Since the new administration's come in, a lot of that wind farm stuff and that has been disregarded, and a lot of that stuff has been stopped. But unfortunately, a lot of those projects have already destroyed the view of Atlantic City. Most would say that Atlantic City is not pretty to look at because, it's, you go one street over and people are fighting every day just to survive. But when you used to drive down into that city, it was a beautiful backdrop. And now you drive down there and all the backdrop is windmill farms.
Yes.
The windmill farm idea is also a double-edged sword, and everybody's going to have opinion to that as well because fish love structure. But I think there's a time and a place for everything. And I think overall, unfortunately, for the New Jersey sportsmen and the Pennsylvania sportsmen and the New York sportsmen, a lot of these clubs try to do initiatives, and then the meetings come and the turnout is very little because of the way they schedule these meetings. They make it almost near impossible to attend. So it's a lot of backdooring going on, and it's just bureaucratic nonsense, honestly. So we'll see. I know that my customers are going to continue to fish regardless of what the state of New Jersey in tax, either way. There's ways to get around. Right now, the current regulation for stripers is if you're going to bait for them, and that would be chunking the clam or squid or bunker, you need to use a circle hook. A lot of the bigger companies have really pushed that new inline style of circle instead of treble hooks. So, I mean, there's ways to get around inside of according to the law and stuff like that. We outlawed bunker snags 4 years ago, and some of the tackle shops here have tried to get around the regulation, and they made snag hooks out of giant circle hooks. So instead of casting a treble hook out, a 4/0 treble hook out there, now they're casting out 12/0 circle hooks and snagging them like that. Because the regulation says that you can snag the bunker, but you cannot throw the bunker back into the ocean on that snag hook.
So what's a bunker?
So a bunker is like a mayhead. What you might know them as. This would be a simple, that would be a colorway of a bunker, almost like that pattern like that. And this would represent a peanut bunker. So the primary foliage we get here up in New Jersey along the coast in the fall is this size of peanut bunker right here. More of the times in the springtime, we get the giant adult bunker, and those are about that size there. But if you look back through some of the videos and the history I've done down there and over the years, you'll see some videos where you can literally thousands of little peanut bunker like this are swirling at your feet, literally from like where I'm standing right here to the Shimano sign, that close to the beach. And at that point, that's when the fall run is in full effect. And that's pretty much where the fish are just gorging themselves and they're beaching themselves onto the beach to capture that offering or whatever. So I always like to say, in the springtime, you really want to throw the big plugs, your 8 to 9 inch plugs. As we get into the fall run, once we get to, like right now, there's been some false albacore around in the morning, which are great. If you get out there first light, they're little speedsters. They're like catching mini tunas. But once we get into like now we get the first nor'easter in here, that whole bait situation is going to change. It's going to be mostly, like I said, the peanut bunker when you want to throw something like these. This is a product from Pure Fishing right here. It's a Berkeley. This is a great one right here. This is a live target peanut, and we've caught tons of fish on these. These work great in the inlets, believe it or not. I wouldn't use this so much if you were going to be out front. And when I say out front, I'm talking the ocean side. And when I say out back, I'm talking in the bays. But this is a great bait to throw as the tide's switching out in the inlets because this sinks and you can just yo-yo it back to you. But great offering there as well. And then the other thing that you'd really want to be focused on as far as imitating a peanut bunker would be what we call Danny 45s or swim plugs. So this essentially is a wooden bait. This is made by Ron Musey, God bless his soul, a gentleman called Glitter Plugs, was an innovator in plug making here in New Jersey. He passed away 2 years ago, unfortunately, but his legacy is left behind with the beautiful creations that he made. But these metal lip swimmers, this is going to be, if you're a freshwater bass fisherman, this is going to be equivalent to a crankbait. So most of the time when you're fishing the Jersey Shore, that tide swing is only 5 to 6 feet in a tide cycle. And this bait here is going to subsurface. This is going to dive down to about 4 or 5 feet. The nice thing about this is when you get this to dig in the sand, it kicks up that poof. And that's what makes them come kind of investigated. The other bait option that has recently come back to the coast, that previous to Hurricane Sandy, the bunker only showed up here in Jersey in abundance about 1.5 years after Hurricane Sandy had hit our coast. Before that, it was all what we would call sand eels. And this is a tsunami sand eel. This bait's been around about 15 years. And this is a great imitation of a sand eel. They make these in a variety of sizes. They make them up to 11 inches. But imagine you're fishing in that 4 to 5 foot water column, and this is just bumping off the bottom. And when it hits off the bottom, it's doing that little poof of smoke, and that fish comes over to investigate it. But these kind of things here, the tsunami sand eels, like I said, these have been a time stay. People will fish sluggos, which is essentially just a giant Cinco, just designed a little differently to give it a different kind of fall rate than a Cinco would have. The other popular item would be from Super Strike. This is a time staple. The Super Strike, this is what this is a needlefish. These are plastic. These were originally made in wood. But this action kind of just floats on top of the surface, and it slowly, there's no wrong way to fish this. And when the guys are not catching fish in the salt, the number one thing I can tell you is to slow down how you're reeling your hands. Entirely too many times, guys will fish too fast. Slow it down. It's painfully slow. That and the correct presentation of where the actual rod is and the way you set it up to your stance. Because with all these lures here on the counter, if that rod tip is not straight up or straight pointed at the lake or at the ocean or the back bay, what happens is that plug is not swimming true to form. That plug is swimming on its side. So this in the sand, when you're standing there and that sand is underneath your feet, rule of thumb for the new guys, I always tell them, if you're fishing any kind of topwater plugs, like this would be like a topwater spook. This is a Jigging World one. This is very popular here, not only in the spring, but also this time of the year. But any kind of poppers like this, or the Super Strike little neck poppers, you want to have that pole vertical. So your hand placement is one hand on the reel here and your weak hands here. So you can jack the rod as you're slowly turning, jacking and pulling, jacking and pulling. Same thing, you would want to do that as you're fishing these needles. Rod tip should be at the sky. You're going to fish this almost like a Cinco, where you would throw it out, rod tips high, and then you're going to let it fall and then bounce it up, pick up the slack. And you're going to do that yo-yo motion. When you get back into lures like these Danny 45s, or this has been a very popular one, the Hydra emitter from Missouri, these lures like this, you don't want that rod tip straight up in the air. You want that rod tip pointed at the tip of the waves of the ocean. So you're going to get full contact with that. The other thing and most important thing is learning how to read the beach. To read the beach, most beaches are up on dunes, so you're looking down at the beach. The first thing you want to identify is what we call in the surf casting world is the sweep. Which way is the ocean pulling? Is it pulling left or is it pulling right? The next thing you want to identify where you're up on that dune looking down is the backwards V's. So when I say backwards V's, people are like, what are you talking about? The backwards V's, you would see the ocean sucks out and you'll see one cut of water coming this way or that way. Wherever this point is at there, that is the deepest point in the structure of where that fishing column is. So how it kind of works is that then waves progress and they come in like this and like this. If the sweep is going this way, the fish will enter from that northernmost, that deepest point, and they will follow that sweep all the way through, which is called that trough, where that wave is falling over on itself. All that bait is disoriented right there. It will, the striper will come in here and he'll open his mouth and he'll naturally pass through that trough and exit out that other V that you will notice. That V is acting like a super highway. And if you can master the flow and the way that that lure naturally falls through that sweep, you'll catch 10 times more fish than you ever did before. And that is really why the bucktail is probably the most effective bait in the ocean, because it represents so many different fish. Now, if I'm fishing in the daytime, I like them yellow colors, that bright, that cotton candy. If I'm down there banging around in the dark, I like that purple and blue. But the nice thing about this, when you throw this in the sweep and then it turns around naturally, this puffs itself out. So this is going to naturally fall through that trough, and it looks like a little rainfish coming through there, a little bay anchovy, and like I said, the striper just coming behind it with its mouth wide open and just annihilating anything that's within that.
So do you put any soft plastics on the back of that thing?
No, I like to fish some guys will put bucktails on the, like a gotcha grub. That's a popular offering. I tend to fish my bucktails separately. These are specifically jetty hopping rock heads. You can see the way the heads are designed there. These are made by Magic Tails. Dante and them make a great product down there. That you can tell this one's been beaten up pretty good over the years. But we also use a lot of these style of jigs here too. The ball head jig, and you can see the paint on this one hasn't held up so good. But this would be more of a fluke style bucktail or a sea bass style bucktail. If I was going to go after the striped bass, I would definitely look into a more surf style of head like this than this, just because of the way this is gonna. When this falls, this darts left and right. When this falls, this doesn't do anything because it's circlish. So just kind of boom, boom. Where this is gonna slide as it moves through the column. That's the difference in the two jig heads. So yeah, that's a pretty good. And then my favorite lure, really outside of the bucktail, and I think one that anybody should put in their bag, is the Yozori Mag Darter. The Yozori Mag Darter, this is a 7-inch Mag Darter. This was going to represent them adult bunker. You also use the 5-inch one, and on my Sumner, I got one right here. And what I do, this is a 5-inch. Okay, these are deadly in the river systems around here too, the Schuylkill, the Delaware. What I do like to do, because I do like to fish out at night, it's all about safety first for me. The last thing you want to do is be wrestling with this tail hook in the middle of the night. So I usually take the tail hooks off of my lures and I just fish the single hook. Sometimes I'll put flags on the top of them just to give them a presentation in the back. But 99% of the time when the striper eats this, he's eating it head first. Okay. So it's very rare that they're going to eat the back hooks. So to save yourself some damage, and especially since sometimes there are bluefish around, the last thing you want to be doing really is wrestling with a bluefish in the middle of the night with that second treble just flipping around here in the back. Okay. So, and then I always like to use just some other safety items I always carry with me. I always have a throw bag in my truck, a kayak throw bag, some people might know it as. You never know You could be the difference between somebody living and somebody dying just because you had that in your car. I have a throw bag with 100 foot of rope on it. God forbid, I hope never to have to use it, but I always keep it in my car in the wintertime, regardless if I'm surf fishing or just out. We do have a lot of ice fishing guys here. Sometimes when we're experiencing and we're getting into it, we overlook the safety of it. And I would hate to see anybody not make it home because we were just overlooking the safety aspect of it. Especially this game right here, this surf casting game. This is not for the weak of heart. This is a dedication game. This fish will keep you up at night. This fish ruins marriages. This fish will call your name in the daytime. And it's not even about catching the fish for me. It's about the journey to go get the fish, because you can find them and then you can stay on them for days, but you have to be committed. Guys will spend thousands of dollars in gas over the next 6 weeks here for the chance of getting one of these fish. And then once they get the first one, it's like they always say, it's so important to keep a log, because you can go back year after year after year. And the more you can dial it in, the more you're going to be effective on the water. I think the most overrated or most overlooked item when you're looking at that kind of stuff is really when the moon rises and the moon sets. So many people get on to the tides and so forth, but I think that the moon has a much bigger role in how they move and how they come in and feed. Alberto Neen is a great friend of mine. I just want to take a minute and wish him continued health. He's been having some health battles here recently, so I want to definitely give a well wishes out to him and his continued recovery. But Al is a surf casting legend. I believe he holds 12 IFGA world records in line classes, but he got his name, Crazy Alberto, from really putting his time in on the rocks up there in New York and Montauk when we were fishing those nor'easters, standing on them rocks. But Al has given thousands of seminars over the years, and the one thing that I've learned from Alberto is it's always 4 days before or 4 days after. If you want a chance at a fish of a lifetime in the salt, as far as a striper or a giant tarpon, it's 4 days before the full moon or 4 days after. That's your window. That's your window. This gentleman has caught countless fish over 50, 60 pounds. You should see the snakeheads that he is just, captured and reported on the record down in Florida. He is a legend when it comes to hunting big fish. And when that man tells you the science is 4 days before and 4 days after, that's really when you're tying your time and your most effort or whatever.
You're going to have a seminar?
Oh yeah, we got a set. Yeah, so we got some seminars coming up. I'll touch on that real quick. So every day, first of all, being a local mom and pop, we can't thank the community enough around here. We are extremely blessed. But every day we get moms that come in with their kids, and they don't really know a lot about fishing and stuff like that. So instead of taking 30, 45 minutes out of the day to go over the same thing over and over and over again, we're going to do a seminar on November 9th. It's going to be from 4 to 6 o'clock up the street here. You can stop on in the store and get the tickets and stuff like that. It's not it's not an extreme cost, but it's going to go over all the beginning steps to fishing, how to select a rod, how to select a bait. Anthony's from the store here is going to be doing the seminars, as well as the two young boys are going to be helping them out. And then when we get to the Philadelphia Fishing Show, which has moved to January of this year, it's going to be January 9th and 11th because February is a leap year this year. So it ran into the Harrisburg show. They had to move the date from February to January. But there we will be doing a variety of seminars. Our young Jack, Liam Clay here, is going to be doing a seminar on trout fishing. Anthony is going to be doing a seminar on smallmouth fishing, I'm sure. And I'm sure we got Mitch Metcalf's going to come back. I think you've had Mitch on the show before.
Yes, I have.
I want to wish him continued success, too. He's just had some hardships as well. Had a fire out in the garage or whatever, but he's come back from that. So he's back on the water, and we look forward to seeing him in January. But, yeah, lots of fun stuff coming up with that kind of stuff as well. And then really, if you really want any information on the striped bass, I'm here Friday nights. I'm here Sunday. I love to talk fishing, just as the podcast is called, and
Sure.
I'll be happy to answer any of your questions in regard to any of the fisheries we have here in New Jersey. And then the other thing I just want to touch on for you guys looking to travel, check out my buddy Matt Cook. Have you seen the 10-pounder I caught in Florida last year? Matt has finally finished up all his guiding certifications. He's now a USGA certified guide down in the great state of Florida. So if you're visiting the Orlando area this holiday season or in the pre-spawn, definitely reach out to Matt. And his company is called Off the Hook Bass Fishing Charters out of Orlando, or shoot me a message and I can get you hooked up with Matt. He's really got it tuned in down there. And the other shout out I want to give as far as a vendor of us is Chuck's Rod Repair. Chuck's been fixing rods for us for 2 years now. We're going to have some of his new custom trout rods this season. We brought in a couple already. And we look forward to seeing what he comes up with again. Another big announcement, Jigging World is a huge saltwater brand here in the Northeast, and they are entering the freshwater fishing market. So they are going to have freshwater bass rods from the $100 price point all the way up to the $400 price point. And their $400 price point bass rods, I would put them up against the Shimano Adrinas and the Shimano X Brides. They are beautiful blanks, and we cannot wait to get them here down at SFO. But and then I guess we could talk a little bit about what we're trying to unfold in Texas here. So for many years, we've looked at Lake of the Pines, and we've rented a property down there, and we're trying to put some things together to see how it goes. But I've always had a lot of support around me, including yourself, and I can't thank you enough for your friendship here over the years, along with all the other people that have grinded the ICAST 360, lived the passion for many, many years, and continue. So I think that a lot of people are excited for what we're trying to put together down there. There'll be more. There'll be more to come in the future, in the coming weeks and months. But I think it's going to be a fun adventure for us and some of our IBAS brothers and sisters to put it in. And on that note, I want to give a shout out to Eric Evans too. I'm hoping he's feeling better. He had some medical issues, but Eric's he's doing the bike riding, and he's spending a lot of time with his family because he's been on the road for so long. He's got beautiful grandkids, and we miss him here, and hopefully someday he'll decide he wants to come back and do this. But, I respect him for everything that he's done and, making us look like $1 billion all these years. But he's had some medical issues the past couple of weeks here. So I just want to make sure I don't ever forget to mention him because, he is he's an all-star.
Eric's a great man. He's next level, man.
Absolutely. And
guys, for those of you who aren't familiar with this, SFO Tackle, check it out, sfotackle.com. And if you go to SFO Tackle, make sure that you use the code Let's Talk Fishing, all one word, all in caps.
Yeah, absolutely. And that inventory is linked to our inventory here in the store. So if you see it online, we have it in stock. We definitely appreciate your support. Support a local mom and pop. Even if it's not us, make sure you support your local tackle shops. I know the big box stores of America, the academies, the Bass Pro, we love them and we understand they got to make a living too. But if you want the real knowledge and what's really going on in the world of fishing in your backyard, go check out your local tackle guy. Like myself, like the rest of the guys here, Stefano, Yanni, Anthony, Freddie, Liam, Luca, any of these guys would be happy to expand your passion for fishing and not just try to sell you something. Because the last thing we do here at Sport Fishing Outlet is try to sell fishermen. We are very selective. If you look around the store, if you watched any of my videos, everything here is very dialed in. We're about catching fish here. It don't hang here if nobody here's caught a fish on it. And that's what we pride ourselves in.
And this is really a dying piece of Americana is the ma and pa tackle shops. I grew up going to these places. I've been to ma and pa tackle shops in probably 15 different states, and now they're almost all gone. It's another piece of our Americana, our collective soul. Gone.
Absolutely.
And I know I get preachy about this, but look at the back of look in the back of Rob there, man. That is an old school tackle shop.
Let me see if I can take you around. I know we only got a couple of seconds left. Let me see how I switch this around here.
Yeah,
sorry,
see that,
guys.
That's exactly what they look like. Just packed to the gills.
Yeah, so we got everything from a steam goat to a billy goat. We got your entry level stuff all the way up to your $1,000 price point. We are professionals in the game of fishing. It is our passion each and every day when we get up. It is my honor and privilege to bring you guys, as well as Stefano, the best in fishing in Montgomery County each and every day. Nobody's doing it to the status that we're doing it. And we pride ourselves in that. And we can't thank our local fans enough for their support and coming here and making each and every season a success year after year after year. If there's something you want to see here, drop me an email. I'll special order for you. We're an elite dealer for every brand in the world of fishing. So stop on by and see us. We're open late on Fridays and Saturday nights.
Also, what I like about the mom and pop places, I go in there. I've never fished here before. I tell Rob, hey, man, I'm here visiting my uncle and I want to fish. Rob's gonna say, what do you want to fish for? And he's gonna tell me exactly where to go. He's gonna give me good information. And that's just the way those guys are. You know, you go to an academy, where are your braids? Oh, I don't have braids. You know.
Yeah, we got braid, we got fluorocarbon, and we'll even actually be able to tell you what the difference is and why one's good and one's not.
Yes.
Instead of just pointing you over there. Because what we do here more than anything, Jay, is we educate.
Yes.
We're teachers, and there is nothing more gratifying than giving the information to a gentleman or a young kid and him coming back here and sharing them photos. That's a memory he's going to have forever. And for us, it's a customer we get to have for a lifetime.
You know, places like that, when I was a boy, you know, I would catch a big fish on something he sold me and he told me to use. And man, Dad and I would go back to that shop and I'd bring that big old walleye right into the store. He'd be, look what you caught.
Yeah.
You can't do that in Academy. You can't bring a fish into Academy.
Nah, you know, but the customer service, I put us up against any Academy or Bass Pro Shop. Actually, if you look at our reviews on Google, there are some on there that say people will never step foot into a Bass Pro Shop again. But
yeah, exactly.
like I said, I've been doing this almost 16 years now, and I've been blessed. It is extremely rewarding. You know, I work as the undertaker sometimes. This is the second greatest job I've ever had. Just because of the rewardingness of it. You go home at night and you feel like you've got something accomplished. But more importantly, and like I like to preach, is we are an extension of our community, our brothers and sisters. We come here, we gather, we're therapists. We like when the retired folks come in the morning at 10 o'clock and sip coffee till 11:30. And, you know, we have a lot of female anglers that are starting to present themselves a lot more here. It's great to see that continuous growth on the female end continuing to happen. But I'd say every week we're seeing still 15 to 20 new customers that are stopping by here. And I don't foresee that stopping. We just had an event 2 weeks ago with a local company called Bluff Lures. They got some phenomenal epoxy resin creations. And that was a very successful day. So again, me and Stefano and the rest of the guys and his brother Yanni and Peter, we just cannot thank the community enough for all the support that they've given us over the years to allow us to get up every day and do this for a living. It is a grind. I do travel a lot. I spend a lot of time in the basement. I don't get to fish as much as I used to, but it's a labor of love, and I wouldn't want to get up and have to do anything else at this point.
Okay, Rob. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Podcast with that, and stick around, Rob. I'm going to end the podcast right now.
Have a great day, guys.